In this video, I will teach you how to make the most delicious bakery-style bread. No mixer and no sourdough starter needed. I have been on a mission to find the bakery-style bread that I can make at home for a while now. Every recipe has disappointed me until I found this one. So let's make this bread together. I always measure out my ingredients first. First, we're going to mix flour, yeast, and water, and this will create Poolish. Since we're not using sourdough starter, Poolish will give us the structure, the flavor, and the texture of our bread. We're going to mix everything together until smooth, cover it, and set it to the side. Next, we're going to autolyze the dough. In simpler terms, we're going to mix water and flour together. The word autolyze means self-digestion. In baking terms, it allows enzymes and flour to start breaking down starch and gluten naturally. The benefits of that, it improves gluten elasticity, better texture. It also makes it easier to mix and gives more flavor. You mix everything well, cover it, and now we're going to take 2 bowls and leave them for 1 hour and 30 minutes somewhere warm. Now, in the summer months when it's cooler inside because of air conditioning, I put my dough to rise inside my oven. I turn my oven on, let it reach about 100 degrees, turn it off, and set my dough inside. Before I put my dough inside, I stick my hand in and feel it just to make sure it's not too hot, because if the temperatures are too hot, it can kill my yeast. So if your hand feels comfortably and it's nice and warm, you're good to go. After an hour and a half, this is what our dough looks now. It has relaxed, so this is the part where it has just water and flour, and this is the part that we added water, flour, and yeast. So our yeast has activated. It looks bubbly and healthy, and so now we're ready to mix both doughs, but the dough from each of the bowls together. I like using wooden spoon when mixing both dough together. However, you can use regular spoon. It doesn't really matter. So I'm taking my Poolish, which is the dough that has water, flour, and yeast, and moving it into the bigger bowl that had just flour and water mixed together. I recruit help from the dough scraper to try to help me get out as much of my Poolish out. Then it's time to mix everything together. I don't know if there's right or wrong way to mix it all, but I'm just kind of using my hand instead of a mixer and try to incorporate both of the mixtures together. Once both mixtures are incorporated well and mixed well together, we're going to cover it and again leave it alone in a warm place for about 30 minutes. After 30 minutes has passed, we're going to remove our dough, and this is where we're going to add our salt. All you have to do is just kind of sprinkle salt on top, and then we're going to again use our hands to mix it all well together. So as you can see, the steps in making this bread are pretty easy. However, you will start feeling that they are a bit repetitive. Mix the dough, cover it, let it rest. Take it out, mix it again, cover it, let it rest. However, all these steps are crucial in developing the gluten, which will give you the structure and the flavor of your bread. So make sure you don't skip any steps just to hurry up and speed up the process. We're going to cover the dough again and let it rest in a warm place for about 30 minutes. After the dough has rested for about 30 minutes, we're going to remove it and preform, fold, and stretch. This is my favorite part of making the bread. Stretch and fold means you're going to grab one side of the dough, stretch it up, and fold it over. We're going to repeat this 3 to 4 times by rotating the bowl. This process is important because by doing stretch and fold, you strengthen the gluten in your dough, and gluten builds structure. It also creates open crumb, which is like the big bubbles inside your bread, allowing your bread to be light. It also helps the dough rise. So we're going to cover our bread and put it again in a warm place for 45 minutes. While my dough is resting, I'm going to go ahead and line up my bonneton, which is the basket where my dough will do its final rise before baking. This is where it also gets its shape from. I'll line it up with a regular towel, and I also add flour so that way my dough will not stick to it. And I set it aside. After my dough has rested for 45 minutes, you can see that it's now starting to get a little bit bigger. And so we're going to perform another fold and stretch. But here, this is where I do my add-ins. I add white chocolate and cranberries. Now, you can omit white chocolate and cranberries and make a sandwich bread. But this is more a sweeter version of this bread, and I'm telling you, the combo of cranberries and white chocolate is irresistible. Now you can also, if you don't like cranberries, you can replace it with any other dried food, or just leave white chocolate and nothing else. This step can feel a little tricky, but if you just follow the same steps of stretching, folding over, turning your bowl, eventually all these cranberries and white chocolate will get mixed in evenly. Once you mix everything up, we're gonna again cover the bowl and put it in a warm place for another 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, we're going to remove our dough and perform a third stretch and fold. The dough will be very easy to handle. And one tip I forgot to share before is before I handle the dough for this step, I actually water my fingers just a little bit so it makes it easier for me to handle the dough. We're going to cover the bowl again, put it in a warm place for another 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, we're going to remove the dough and perform our last stretch and fold. So here we do the regular fold, stretch, turn the bowl, and then we're gonna cover it and let it rest for about 45 minutes to an hour. Now here we're looking for the dough to actually triple in size. This time I chose to leave my bowl on top of the stove because it was really warm. I was making strawberry jam, so the temperature was actually great in the kitchen. I want you to see how beautiful my dough looks. Look at that. It has not just doubled in size, pretty sure it has tripled in size. So now I'm going to shape it, and there's a few more steps before we bake it. Let's go. After our dough has tripled in size, we're now going to shape it. Here's where I goofed off, and I thought I pressed the record button, but I didn't, so I'm using my old footage to try to show you how I shape my bread. Add generous amount of flour to the surface so that way your dough doesn't stick to it. Take one side of the dough and fold it over to the center like you're folding a letter. Do the same thing with the other side as well. Now, starting from the bottom edge, roll the dough up tightly like a jelly roll. Make sure you tuck the ends underneath and place the dough seam side up in your proofing basket, so the smooth side is facing down. You're going to cover the basket up again, and you're going to put it in a warm place to let it rise for about an hour. The dough will rise in that time, and it will fill up your basket. Next, you're going to refrigerate your dough for about an hour. Do not cover the dough like you see in my video. After your dough has been in the fridge for about 30 minutes, you want to preheat your oven to about 500 Fahrenheit. And you want to put your cast iron Dutch oven inside. After another 30 minutes, which is a total at this point of an hour, you're going to remove your dough from the fridge. Remove your dough from the basket onto parchment paper. You can put a cutting board under your parchment paper so that way you'll have something sturdy to carry it to the oven. Next, you're going to score your bread, which means you slash in the top of your bread before baking. It controls how the bread expands in the oven and prevents from busting. Now here I'm going to show you my Dutch oven. I bought it at Goodwill Outlet for $10. While my husband was stationed in Missouri. I bought it with intentions for my husband to use it during camping trips. However, I learned quickly that it is amazing for bread baking. At this point, your Dutch oven has been inside the oven at 500 temperature preheating for about 30 minutes. We're going to remove the top of the Dutch oven. We're going to carry our bread with parchment paper and put it inside the Dutch oven. Then we're going to put the lid back on it, close the door, and bake it for 20 minutes at 500. After 20 minutes, we're going to reduce the temperature to 450, remove the lid off of a Dutch oven, and bake it for another 20 minutes without the lid. And now just look at this beauty after it baked for a total of about 40 minutes. Now the hardest part of the whole baking process is not the steps, but waiting for the bread to completely cool off. There are several reasons for why the bread needs to be cooled before cutting, and one of it is the crumb is still setting. You don't want to cut it and your crumb inside of your bread to be gummy. Also, moisture needs to still be redistributed, and flavor still develops as the bread cools. After the bread cools, watch out because my family can put out this loaf in less than an hour. Let me know in comments if you're going to try making this bread. If you have any questions, let me know. If you enjoyed this video,